Welcome to the R&B podcast. My name is Austin, and here again with me today.
Ba-da-na-na is Gerard. What's going on, everyone? How y'all doing today?
So today we're going to talk about cardio, and we're not talking about Spanish. So we're talking about
I wasn't ready for that one.
no, we're actually going to talk about doing cardio, and like fun things to do for cardio. Uh, if you can say cardio is fun, honestly, it's really bad, but you ain't going to catch me running. So at least not long distance runs. I'm not going to be one of those guys that has a family that wakes up on Thanksgiving and says, let's go run a 5K." Not for me, but if that's for you, cool. It's just not for me.
Exactly. So you hear the saying a lot of times, especially hardcore weightlifters, cardio. And so, but here's the fact of the matter is cardio has a benefit is then there's a lot of ways you can get it in. And it's funny, Austin says that, and it's like, I remember when I had to wrestle, we would run just for hours and miles and just felt like it never end. And I hated running for years. And it's funny, it wasn't until actually about January of this year that I was like, okay, let me try going for a run again. And now I actually enjoy it. I find a value in it. It still beats me up a little more than I'd like to, but that's an option that I've found. So I think that's one thing of a cool thing about cardio. It's like it can go in waves of what you enjoy to do and what you don't. One thing I recently started doing was jump roping. I've always been like average at it, so I have a goal of getting better, and so that's been fun. And it's challenging, man. Like my one friend, she's teaching me the cross, and it's rough. So you're going, and then if you're good at it, she's a boxer. She's actually phenomenal at jump roping, and so you go ahead and you hit a cross and you jump right back into it. She does it wonderfully. I seem to whack myself in the face every time I do it. So right now it's just growing pains, trying to figure that out more. But that's a fantastic form of cardio I enjoy doing. I was at one point doing some weighted vest sprints, just getting those in the morning as another way. This whole, quarantine coronavirus has really, made me kind of like rethink some options of how I address cardio and how I just, get fitness in with limited options. And so there's been more opportunity to address those cardio options than there probably ever was before, or I ever wanted there to be before.
Yeah, my favorite method of cardio is walking my dogs. As cliche as that sounds, however, I will say I enjoy it infinitely more in Alexandria than I ever did in Baltimore. That has nothing to do with walking the dogs and everything to do with where I was. So it's a much more, I don't know, it's a much more enjoyable walk now. And so my walk time isn't as fast because I'm not rushing anymore. But but I do enjoy taking, the dogs on walks. I also really like taking the dogs on hikes. And for a period of time, honestly, like during the majority of the lockdown, that was the only form of cardio that I was doing. And it's actually obviously it's good initially until you start building those adaptations, and then you're like, okay, obviously I need to keep walking longer. And the dogs are good for certain distances, but obviously then being a good dog dad or trying to be realizing that, okay, maybe even though they have four legs, they can really only be walking so far. So try not to push them too hard, especially in the summer. So that led to me trying to figure out different ways to try and get my cardio in. So sprinting.
It's a love-hate relationship with sprinting.
Yeah, you got to do your stretching and warming up and take that like seriously, or you will pull your hamstring, especially for y'all lifters that don't really run frequently. Um, you know what though? I do like it. It is hard, but there's something about the hard work of like just going all out, kind of like a max effort lift. There's just something about that all out effort and how good you feel when you're done sprinting.
Yeah, that's for sure. I know for me, whenever I'm done sprinting, especially in this Arizona heat, it's like, let me just go run back inside and chug half a gallon of water. 'Cause, I went for a run the other day. You can tell I'm a newbie out here, and it was a bad time. I think it was approaching like 2 o'clock here in Arizona, just like listen, man, you got to get it in when you can. And I was like, ooh, that's probably the only time I'm gonna be able to squeeze it in today. So I went for it. You know, if you aren't on YouTube or anything, I'm not exactly the tannest person ever. So I was lathered up in sunblock, running out there, and oh, it was a quick run.
I totally get that though. When I was in Vegas, this has nothing to do with cardio, but when I was in Vegas, I had a set of golf clubs, and I would go golfing on Sunday morning or Sunday afternoons at 1 p.m. because it was so hot. The course would guaranteed be empty, and they would only charge me $5 to let me play all 18 because
Oh, that's nice.
nobody was there. So it was like, all right, I'm young. Like I can suck it up for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And like, especially because I am like kind of trash at golf. It's probably better that nobody else is there anyway, as I'm like shaking all that stuff into his backyard. So, it's probably better. I mean, it was literally so hot that the rabbits are like literally just laying there panting like crazy. I'm sure you probably see it down there. And I could like hit a ball next to one, like, literally go up to it, and it like just sit there and be like, "Yeah, I don't even care, dude. Like, do what you will. I don't care." Like crazy. I get that. You got to do what you got to do.
It's true. I actually went golfing for the first time a few weekends back, and I was the same. I was, not the greatest at it, but it was funny. It was so hot out that people were literally like, we had like carts behind us, and they were just leaving at like hole 12 or something like like they were just out. They weren't trying to play all of them. So yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do. Austin and highlighted hiking and or even just walking. That's something I enjoy doing as well. I know I was had a good routine going on there for a little bit where I would always walk at the end of the night, where I would just get up, do like 2 laps around the complex that I'm at right now, and one there's a tremendous amount of benefit as far as just what it does for calming down your mind, but also having your metabolism work at a more efficient rate. So you actually are putting calories you've consumed to use, which is huge. But it's interesting. I actually just had to do a little presentation for my job about the negative effects of sitting. And I think what a big misconception is I know as we're sitting right now giving this podcast, but there's a big misconception that like, okay, if I work out hard or if I'm up and I'm active for a portion of the day, that counteracts all of the hours of sitting I've done. What we're finding in the research is it's actually not quite true. You need to get up and actually just be more mobile more frequently throughout the day. And so those little walks, or even if it's just the water fountain, you fill up your cup of coffee or something, just anything like that is going to have a far greater benefit than just remaining seated for many, many hours and then having one period of time where you're getting all of your activity in. So that's a little, food for thought as you go about your day. Another cardio option that I was really getting into, and again, it's just been affected by this whole thing, was swimming. Man, I am awful at swimming. Have been my whole life. I remember my mom said the first time I ever did swim class, all the kids jumped in the pool, everyone came back up except me. I was just down there at the bottom. And so, swimming is another fantastic option of cardio. One thing that's really nice about it, there's absolutely zero stress on your joints and ligaments because you're free floating. And that's what I really liked about it. I, at one point, was doing my lifts and other forms of cardio in the morning, and then in the evening, I was just swimming. I could literally feel my joints and everything loosening and opening up. So, feels like the biggest thing with cardio is do something that is, you might not like any of it, but do the one that you like the most. Do the one you get the most reward from.
Honestly, I was gonna say frankly, to follow that up, anything that gets you moving. Seriously, like it could be, I know this doesn't sound like cardio, but like it could be going outside and working on a garden, if you have a garden. It could be like playing basketball with friends. I mean, obviously keeping your corona distance, right? But like, it could be literally anything that gets you moving and anything that elevates your heart rate, because we need that. It's important for your heart, it's important for your health. I think a lot of people underestimate that. They're like, I used to hate on cardio, but even if I wasn't doing what I was doing lifting wise, or like trying to like diet and like cut here, I'd probably still be doing some form of cardio just for cardiovascular health, because that's super important. Just to, kind of like you exercise your muscles, you exercise your brain, you got to exercise your heart, in a healthy way. So yeah, honestly, anything that gets you moving. And this is what I tell all my patients that I work with, at my full-time job, that I'm like, what do you enjoy? And they're, oh, well, I enjoy doing this. Then go do that more. Like literally anything. Even if you can only walk for 5 minutes, walk for 5 minutes. Even if it's like, oh, you're busy, but you work in a building. Okay, well, if you work on the third floor, maybe instead of taking the elevator, or like the, the, what are the things that escalators? If you have,
Yeah, yeah.
use the stairs. I'm sorry, I struggle with the word escalators, but words are really hard sometimes. Okay. Um, I used to actually be terrified of escalators, if we're being completely
I was
honest.
gonna say, are you gonna tell them about that?
I
Because
am
you
gonna
have a
tell them
history
about it.
with them.
I was really young, and I saw this like documentary on like all the like dangerous things that could happen on an escalator, like getting your foot caught in the side, and like literally like people's lives being like ruined because they got stuck in an escalator, or like they stepped in it the wrong way, or something happened. And honestly, for the longest time, I was terrified of escalators. I know that sounds so ridiculous, but like I even to this day, like when you get up close to like you're getting to the top, and like, oh, it's like the steps are converging into the ground. I am like super anxious about like, oh, gotta get out of there. So like can't get stuck here and like lose my leg to this escalator or some shit. I know that sounds so wild, but I
The first time he told me that, I was dying. As you saw me laughing right there, like, it's just those things are kind of crazy. What are the ones though at the airport? The little like runway, like
oh, those are
quick
really,
walk things.
yeah, those are really
I
cool.
Yeah, those are cool. I was the kid who would like sprint down it, get on the other one, sprint down that, sprint back on the one I've already done, and like catch up to where my family was at because I love those things that much.
Yeah, more power to you. The only time I've ever really used those is when I was like legitimately running late for something. I was like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm like trying to book it on those, and like those are moving so fast. But you're really not, but you feel like you're moving fast. And
Yeah.
I just want to go fast. So
Yep. Mama, I just want to go fast. Ricky Bobby, anyone out there? Talladega Nights.
classic that movie again under today's culture. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think just for those of you listening today, just figure out some cardio options you enjoy, some ones you can get through. I mean, and like we've said, it doesn't necessarily have to be going for a long run or something incredibly strenuous, but just getting up, being more active, trying to get the hours of the time of the day that you are actually active, doing something to be greater if not equal to the amount that you spend sitting or just sedentary. Because this was another interesting thing I learned. Just the sedentary lifestyles right now are the fourth leading risk factor in global mortality. That is some scary shit right there. So, and we are all living some pretty sedentary lifestyles as of late. So it's good to get up and get moving.
Yeah. And then you factor in, diet and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, yikes. There's a lot of stuff going on here that I don't think people really consider. That yeah, we should all probably be a little more aware of certain things that we do, that we, yeah.
Yeah. So as always, give us a like, a follow if you can, share something out on our podcast. If you're able to drop a review and 5 stars on the Apple Podcast page, that really helps us get out. We don't do sponsors or anything. We really just believe, bringing this word out to the people and let it grow organically. And please tag us when you do your next form of cardio. Tag at Iron Breed Performance on Instagram, as we'd love to see it. If you got some interesting stuff that you do, go for it. I've been seeing people do like farmers walks with like trash bags and like heavy logs and stuff. Just people are being creative during these times, and any way we can get it in, we want to see it. So thank you. Go ahead, Austin, finish it strong.
Absolutely. So thank you again, everybody. It's been real. We'll catch you again next week. Thanks for listening. It's the R&B podcast.